Okay, here we are. Bonsoir à tous, bonsoir France, good morning California to Leah and Noah, our partners from Pegasus Adventures. Thank you all for joining us and welcome to this first edition of Startup World Cup France. Special hi to our live viewers. Please feel free to be part of the event, to comment and share your thoughts and your questions, and our team will make sure to answer you live. My name is Jennifer Elias, and here is my partner waving, Jessica Rosner. We are the founders of Take It Forward, a consulting and tech event agency. We are ecosystem bridgers, meaning that we are connecting tech experts and entrepreneurs from all around the world and providing the best opportunities, bringing impactful technologies forward and connecting people together like tonight. We are very excited to host this special first edition of Startup World Cup in France. Thank you all for joining us today to kick off this first event. We have been extremely impressed by the level of all the startups that have applied, and we were very inspired by the ideas and innovations presented. This is a tech agnostic competition, which is important. That means that the following startups are from diverse verticals and will be judged on their innovation level, creativity, and teams. We would like to say thank you to our talented panel of judges who accepted the tough job of evaluating and picking the startup that will represent France at the San Francisco Grand Final in November. So now I will mention your names. So please wave when I call you so that everybody knows who are the judges. I will start with Richard Villemont, partner at Feral Law. Hi. Camille Berthelot, partner at Keepers. Anas Ed, partnership manager at Huawei. Uria Fiano, serial entrepreneur and board member at Take It Forward. Jérémy Bordier, venture partner at Otium Capital. Thomas Benaim, CEO at Le Village by Crédit Agricole Paris. Alexandre Fourtois, CEO at OneCubator. And last but not least, our Leah Edwards, partner at Pegasus Tech Ventures. Thank you for devoting your precious time to this program. We will soon meet the 5 finalists and discover their fascinating technologies. But right before, I would like to invite our partner from Feral Law, Richard Villemont, to say a few words.
Thank you very much. Hi to everyone. I'm going to share a very short presentation on our firm. Thank you very much for this opportunity to make this introduction of our firm. Thank you very much to Pegasus Tech Ventures and Take It Forward for that opportunity. I'm here with Elie Tuitu, who is an associate at our firm. Just very quick information and details on us. We've been created 33 years ago at a time where we were talking about microcomputers and telematic systems, so a long time ago in terms of the computer industry. We are 15 lawyers. We are highly specialized in IP, IT, and data, so we only focus on that. We say that we are business lawyers dedicated to the tech industry, but also all the innovations and the IP and of course data protection. We are attorneys, trademark attorneys, and data protection officers. Our expertise, the scope of our expertise is very large. We say that we have a knowledge in all aspects of law related to digital, tech, computer, innovation, which includes, of course, IP, data protection, and all the regulations applicable, of course, to the digital industry, which include the startups. We have a very strong international dimension because we are a small firm, but we have a strong partnership with a Japanese firm. So we're in Japan, and some of our team members are also at the bar of New York and Montreal. So we are often in North America as well. The scope of our expertise is very large because we go from IT contracts, which is the core historic business of our firm, to all the contracts related to digital industry, cloud computing, of course, e-commerce, electronic communications, e-payments, all the cyber risks. And we, on a daily basis, we work on innovations in the digital industry or in the tech industry at large. So it could be related to many things, you know, blockchain, cryptocurrency, digital identity, digital signature, and all the different fintechs, medtech, biotech, etc. We are working a lot on data protection. Obviously, as you may know, the GDPR gave us a lot of work for 3 years now. We also work on e-evidence, privacy, and we have a specific expertise in health data by coincidence, because we got a lot of cases related to hosting or processing of health data. And on the IP part, we cover almost everything because we work on copyright, design, trademark, patent litigation, but because we are only attorneys, we don't have any patent engineer. We don't do patent filings, but we work with patent attorneys for that. And we practice a lot of litigation. This is one of the, maybe it's on my other side, yeah, next slide. We try to keep a good balance between litigation and transactions, because we think that in our area of expertise, it's fundamental to be good, to draft a good contract. You need to experience your contracts in front of a court, and to be a good litigator, you need to know and to work on transactions. So we try to keep that balance, almost 50-50, depends on the time, of course, of the year. And we created last year the first network in France dedicated to compliance, and specifically to GDPR and anti-bribery compliance, because we discovered the similarities between the two process and methods we use to assess the compliance of companies and groups when we work with our colleagues in anti-bribery. And my final word would be for startups, because we work a lot for startups. We have a special relationship with business angels networks. For them, we do quick reviews on, we call it pre-diagnostic in French, of their IP compliance, GDPR compliance, e-commerce compliance. We are often retained by other firms, and most of the time very large firms in France for M&A support. So we are the dedicated team for IP, IT, and data due diligence for those firms which don't have any IP or not with the level of expertise we have. And of course, we provide legal services and support to startups. And most of the times after the due diligence, we are retained to provide our services. And of course, yeah, we've been existing for 33 years, but for more than 2 decades, we are very proud to be rewarded by all the guides, you know, Legal 500 chambers and best lawyers and the others. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Merci, Richard. Merci for being with us tonight. Now I would like to invite Noah Leshan, investor at Pegasus Tech Ventures, to speak about Pegasus and share some insights about the Startup World Cup. Noah, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Jessica. Appreciate that. And yeah, without further ado, I'm going to share my screen and we'll run through a brief presentation from Pegasus about the Startup World Cup. So give me 1 second. Okay, can you all see the screen? Oh, okay, I'm going to take that as a yes. So yes, thank you all for being with us here today. As mentioned, my name is Noah Leshan. I serve as an investor with Pegasus Tech Ventures and as the manager of the Startup World Cup platform. And Startup World Cup is a global pitch competition with a $1 million investment prize, and it's sponsored by Pegasus Tech Ventures, or powered by us, probably more accurately. Yeah, again, I'm the manager and also investor at Pegasus. Just going forward, we want to say a special thank you to our partners here at Tech It Forward. Really appreciate you all helping to organize this event and put it all together. So without our partners here at Tech It Forward, Startup World Cup France would not be possible. So please, a brief round of applause for Jennifer and Jessica. Yeah, so a little bit about Pegasus. Pegasus, we are a global venture capital fund based out of Silicon Valley. We've made over 180 investments to date. You can see some of the popular ones here, which include Bird, 23andMe, SoFi, SpaceX, Airbnb, and Triller. We are a truly global venture capital fund with presence across 3 different continents in terms of our investments. So here's the Startup World Cup mission statement. So we created this platform because we wanted to empower young and older entrepreneurs across the globe to have an opportunity to be seen by top-tier investors within their local community, but then also within the global community via the grand finale. So via that mentality, we're fostering innovation throughout the world, encouraging entrepreneurship, and also allowing for networking. So we're bringing together all these folks into the regional event, so that way you guys can network with each other, the top VCs, top corporates, top startups from all around your region, and then bringing those entire communities to the grand finale to foster the global innovation community. We also have many of the top media houses covering many of our different regionals and grand finale events. So this is truly a global platform that is encouraging innovation throughout the world. Taking a quick look at some of the stats from Startup World Cup. So we have over 50,000 attendees across all of our events, thousands of speakers and judges, hundreds of media coverages. And actually this year, for the 2021 combined cycle, we're going to be in over 70 different regions and countries, or 70 plus different regional events. So this platform has been growing massively. We actually started out in about 26 different regions, then expanded to 36. And then now we're on track for 70 plus. So you can see the exponential growth. Talking about some of the key folks that we've had as speakers at the grand finale. They include Steve Wozniak, the co-founder of Apple, Reid Hoffman, founding CEO of LinkedIn, the co-founder of Netflix, the co-founder of Siri, the former president and COO of Oracle, the chief evangelist of Canva, co-founder of Reddit, and really some many more amazing different keynote speakers that we've had. And actually many of these folks even sit on the Startup World Cup advisory board. So these are people that you can see at different Startup World Cup regionals and the grand finale, and are very involved in the community. Yeah, so going forward, some of the past speakers we've had, judges we've had include Jeff Ralston, the president of Y Combinator, Tim Draper, founder and partner at DFJ, Eric Fang, the general partner of Kleiner Perkins, founder and partner of Techstars, the founder and CEO of Founders Institute, and really many other great judges. So we have some very highly qualified judges serving on the panel for the grand finale and vetting these startups. And actually, these are some of the folks that startups can come and talk to about how to make their venture successful if you come to the grand finale. So talking about some of the previous winners, in the first cycle, we had Unifa. Unifa is an edtech player out of Japan. They've been extremely successful since winning the Startup World Cup. And actually, they've grown their revenues to over $30 million and are planning to IPO on the Tokyo Stock Exchange very soon. In 2018, we had Luca Labs. Luca Labs is a startup that's a spin out of MIT. They came out with a novel process for monitoring and diagnosing cancer. And then in 2019, we had Abivin. Abivin is a logistics company out of Vietnam. They've also been very successful since winning the Startup World Cup, expanding to new regions, forming new partnerships, and finalizing their funding round with the investment from Pegasus and Startup World Cup. So now let's talk about 2021. In 2021, we want the event to be the biggest yet. So again, mentioning it is a global startup pitch competition and conference with the $1 million grand prize. We're seeing applications from over 10,000 different startups from all around the world coming in, trying to compete in our regional events. So again, it is growing massively. So talking about the structure of the grand finale, we have 70 plus different regional champions all coming to San Francisco to pitch for that $1 million investment prize. And again, we're having competitions across all the major continents. So yeah, it's very, very global in scale. So talking about the 2021-2020 combined cycle. So we started in 2019 in July in China, in Xi'an, China, in collaboration with Amazon to host our first event from the cycle. From there, we went on to Vietnam, from Bulgaria to Croatia, from Georgia to Argentina, from Boston to France, where we continue our journey here today. And yeah, we're very excited to be here to host Startup World Cup France. So giving you guys some more background on the grand finale, it's going to be a 3-day event, 3-day series, spanning from November 10th to 12th. It'll be at the Hilton Union Square in San Francisco. We encourage you all to come and attend. If you're interested in coming as a French delegation or as an individual, please reach out to Tech It Forward or Pegasus to help coordinate that. And you can find all the information on startupworldcup.io about the grand finale. Starting on November 10th, we'll have the semifinal, then the workshop and networking party, and then finally the grand finale on the last day, November 12th. So one of the keynote speakers here today is actually going to be our very own Bill Reitkert. Bill is a partner at Pegasus Tech Ventures, and he's also the chief evangelist of Startup World Cup. Bill has extensive experience as a serial entrepreneur that went VC, founded his own fund with Guy Kawasaki, who you might have seen previously in my presentation as the chief evangelist of Canva, and also worked at Apple earlier. So Bill has written a book called Getting to Wow. It's talking about the pitch secrets for entrepreneurs from the Silicon Valley perspective. If you guys all want to get an advantage on your pitches, I encourage you guys to go check out that book on Amazon. So talking about this year's grand finale, we've already confirmed some amazing keynotes. So we'll have the CTO of Intuit, a board member from Microsoft, an SVP from Walmart, the former CTO of HP, the former CSO of Snap, SVP of Cisco, and the chairman and founder of Carbon 3D Printing. They're all confirmed to be speakers at the grand finale. So, and then many, many more to come, some exciting announcements soon. So again, please go and get those tickets for the grand finale, and we hope to see you all there. I want to take a really brief minute to talk about a very unique opportunity. So we are raising the Startup World Cup Fund. The Startup World Cup Fund will be used to invest into the winners of the Startup World Cup, whether we're starting out probably with the grand finale and then thinking about regional events as well. So yeah, this is going to be a great opportunity. I know we have many of the top VCs and corporates and other folks who are investors in the audience today from France. So if you're interested in investing in some very highly qualified startups, please reach out to us. I'll make myself available. You can reach me at noah@pegasusventures.com. So continuing on, we've all gathered here today for Startup World Cup France. So very excited to be hosting this event. We want to say a special thank you to all of the judges who will be participating in the event today. As mentioned, they're going to have a very tough job vetting some top startups from France. So really appreciate you guys' efforts here. So again, a round of applause for these folks.
Thank you so much, Noah. Thank
Yes.
you.
Yes, go ahead.
So is everyone ready? Everyone's ready to start? I'm just going to remind everybody once more that all startups, you have 4 minutes to pitch. It will be followed by a 3-minute Q&A with the judges. And bonne chance à tous. We will start with Eugenie and Alexandra from Phoenix. Please go ahead.
Sorry, is it okay now? Okay, can you hear us?
We hear you.
Yeah,
Okay,
great.
perfect.
Thank you. Sorry.
Sure.
Hi, everyone. I'm Eugenie.
Pleased to meet you. I'm Alexandra. Today, we're going to tell you about the new outboard motor, bio-inspirated with fins. Do you know how fast the blue whale moves? The blue whale is 30 kilometers per hour at cruising speed, and the animal is 190 tons. What about the dolphin? The dolphin is 60 kilometers per hour, and the swordfish then? The swordfish can reach speeds up to 110 kilometers per hour in water without any propeller. Indeed, we have a lot to learn from nature, and at Phoenix, we decided to get inspired by nature to propose and to create a new nautical bio-inspirated nautical propulsion for a better tomorrow. Mankind has a lot to learn from nature, and surprisingly, we've moved towards completely different solutions with propellers rather than fins.
Propeller is a past technology. It uses its energy to mix a fluid instead of propelling it in a straight line. It's dangerous. Many accidents occur each year. It's expensive because it's composed of many parts, expensive to maintain, and it's noisy. It disturbs the fauna and the flora with the ADs it creates. But there is a solution, and nature knows it for a long time. That solution is Phoenix. Phoenix, it's a disc-shaped membrane that undulates like a fish from the periphery to the center. It allows energy savings, a maximum safety. There is no rotating part because there is no propeller, a reduced maintenance because it's composed of a few elements, a great reactivity like a fish in water, and finally, it's a quiet technology because it doesn't cavitate a lot.
The nautical propulsion market is vast, and at Phoenix, we've decided to focus on outboard motors first. Our first product is this one, the Fin5, a 5-horsepower motor, 100% electric, dedicated to small boats and sailboats up to 3 tons. We're developing it here in Paris at the Phoenix Laboratory, our FinLab, and we are also incubated at Centrale Supélec. The objective is to provide our early adopters this summer with a small series of Fin5 and then to launch at the beginning of 2022 the Fin5. To develop it, we raised 900,000 euros recently, and now we're just beginning a new fundraising, a Series A of 3 million euros to launch the Fin 5 and to create the second motor, the Fin 150, equivalent to 100 kilowatts.
Our business model is very simple. We want to sell engines, we want to sell thruster, and we want to sell licenses for several applications. We are a young team of 10 people supported by a high-level advisory board with Loïc Perron, a great French sailor, and Hervé Gastinel, president of the Ponant Group and the former CEO of Beneteau Group. We have run the Olympic and Paralympic Call of Paris 2024, which aim at promoting green mobility. And of course, we are part of the maritime and oceanic ecosystem. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your attention.
Thank you. What a fantastic solution for our oceans. I would like to invite Leah to ask the first question.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the presentation. And I'm curious if you're hoping to replace outboard motors, the current propeller-based outboard motors. So are you hoping to be in a market where people will swap them out? Or are you hoping to be in a market where new boat builders will specify to put these outboard motors on?
Our market actually is vast. We want to sell for our motor for boat companies, also shipyards, also diving and sailing schools, and also particulars. And we also want to sell licenses.
Yeah, and the technology is really safe. So we don't want just to create a new motorboat that it's just innovating. We really want to propose our solution to many companies and licensing the product because it's so safe, and we don't want any more like accidents. There is so many accidents each year, and so we want to stop it for humanity.
Yeah, you know, there are like 50 accidents. 50 people die each year in the US, and around 250 non-fatal but very dramatic accidents. And normally they occur in leisure environments, in vacations environments, and it's not possible. So yeah, we want to propose a safer, greener, safer mobility. Yeah, thank you.
Maybe we can show you the motor if you want. Like yesterday we applied for 2 patents, and now we can show you the motor if you are interested by it.
Do we have time? Yeah, excellent.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's do that. Welcome at the FinLab.
So it's completely safe. You can touch it when it's private.
Cool.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Is someone else going to ask a question, or should I do a follow-up?
If you have another question, you can ask it. Otherwise, I know that Uriah also has a question.
Well, real quick, I'd just like to ask, what evidence do you have that people want to buy it? What conversations have you had, or where's that?
Yeah, the technology come from the industrial pump and the medical industry, and so it's completely safe. And so we wanted to adapt it to the nautical propulsion because of the accident. And so when we were to exposition, many people wanted to buy it because they wanted something completely safe for their children. So that's why we really wanted to develop it, because it's a technology that people will love.
Yeah, and absolutely. And actually, we're targeting a huge market. Look, in Canada, 1 inhabitant in 4 has a boat. In Finland, 1 in 7. In Norway, 1 in 8. Northern countries, Northern European countries, France love electrics, and in the US also, it represents half of the proportion market. So there is something to do, obviously, and
with
we
a
are
safer mobility.
Yeah, and also more silent, quieter, as we told you before. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Uriah, would you like to ask your question as well?
I'd love, thank you. So following on about the business model and then a little marketing question. So the first one is about the business model, meaning that you mentioned correctly that there are basically 3 segments of the market.
Yeah.
What is the first one? Or what is the focus at the beginning?
At the beginning, we really want to sell engines for people like particular. I don't know if
So private owners,
private people, because it's easier and they really love the concept actually. And so we really want to propose them a new mobility directly.
Okay, thanks a lot. And now I'm gonna explain to you more. I live in Venezia.
Okay.
So nobody, I think, better than me know what you mean when you say that there are places where everybody has a boat, almost.
Yeah.
So this is the case.
Yeah.
Recently, I've sailed or I've rode a Torqeedo engine, 10 HP. So my question is, where are you and where are them? Of course, we're talking about 2 different products. It's clear to me, but why should I move on to Phoenix when I'm using a Torqeedo?
Because it's completely, as I told you, it's completely safe. Like you can put your hand you can swim next to the motor and you can enjoy it and not be stressed by the motor by itself. And so it's less stress and it's quieter for the human, but also for the animals, that it's so noisy on the ocean because of all the motor that are so loud.
Yeah. We are seeing about human, of course, but for communication for marine animals, it's a big deal. And regarding this, we just yesterday, if I can, we launched a book. First day today.
Congratulations.
For 1 year, maybe you see it. We decided to interview people who changed the world. So we have Paul Watson, founder of Sea Shepherd. We have Fabien Cousteau, Claudia Nioré, French astronaut. And we want to take some perspective, not to stay in the nautical sector, but taking some perspective and having a vision, a larger vision, because people change the world. Many solutions exist and they are drawing tomorrow. So this is
I understand, but let me get it to very, very sharp.
Yeah.
In terms of pricing, where do you see yourself with your Fin X5 compared to Torqeedo 10 HP?
We will be at the same price as a Torqeedo, and the same efficiency, the same price, the same motor. It's just a different way to propose.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Jennifer or Jessica, if you allow me, I have a question as well.
Sure.
Okay.
1 minute.
Okay, 1 minute. Hey, Eugenie. Hey, Alexandra. Congratulations for this great invention. I really liked it. Actually, I have a question which matches a bit with Uriah's question. I'm not a specialist. I've never worked in this field, but I'm seeing that the shift you're asking the consumer to do or the navigators to do is like the one, for example, Tesla or electric cars are requiring from the consumer is to forget about, we'll say, the classical car and move to it's a paradigm shift, actually, to move to a new way of moving or a new way of sailing. Okay, so how will you actually do to it's more than the price and more, how will you educate the market or educate the consumer and the sailor to switch from we'll say a century-old way of navigating to a new way of navigating, or so this is my question. I don't know if I have been clear.
Yeah, but you know, when you mix water like with the propeller, it's mixing, and so you lose energy because you mix it. But like a dolphin or like a whales, it just fins that are moving, and so we are we are gaining energy. I don't know if you
I got it.
And so it's great because it's more efficient in terms of energy, and so it's better because the electric motors are quite difficult to understand because it's a huge battery, and so but with our technology, as it's really propel the water in straight line, it's gaining energy.
Yeah, and tomorrow we will also propose energy like panel solar panels, and also hydrogen piles.
Yeah.
So electricity, hydrogen, and solar.
Yeah, all the energy, the tomorrow energy.
Yeah.
Great. I'm looking forward to that. Thank you again, and congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, girls. So next, I would like to invite Paul Henry, CEO of Gatling.
Hi, thank you very much. And thank you for giving us the opportunity to present our business. So I only got 4 minutes, so I start right away. Here. Okay, can you see my screen? Yes, okay, great. So nice to meet you all. My name is Paul, I'm Gatling CEO and co-founder, and we are building a load testing solution for web applications. So first of all, what is load testing? Load testing exists in various industries for a very long time. And for instance, in 1884, the Brooklyn Bridge has been load tested with 21 elephants from the Barnum Circus to prove that the bridge was steady. And it's actually exactly the same thing for web applications and websites. We simulate virtual users to see if there are going to be any slowdowns and crashes before it happens in real life. So crashes have a lot of impacts on your user experience. And happy users mean less revenues, and it also damages your brand image. Basically today, when you crash, you make newspaper headlines. And what happens backstage also isn't pretty. Everyone in your IT department is panicking. They need to act fast to make the application available again. And when everything is over, people are just getting yelled at because you always need someone to blame. But guess what? It's no one's fault, actually. They just didn't know what kind of loads their application could handle. So it's time for me to introduce you Stefan, my business associate, and also the creator of the open source solution Gatling. When I met him, he was developing applications for large organizations, and he wanted to load test them because the business stakes were high. But in the organization he was working for, load testing was seen as something expensive, as something useless also. In the few organizations actually doing load tests, you didn't have any communication between the people who were doing the tests and the people supposed to build the applications. So it was indeed useless and therefore expensive. So Stefan decided to start all over again and create his own solution with a code-like approach. Why? Because before Gatling, what you did was testing your application after its development to validate if it met the requirements, the performance requirements or not. But it's already too late, especially if your developers need to start all over again. So with a code-like approach, Gatling is directly integrated in your development lifecycle, and you can test your application from the very first line of code. So what you produce then, you can do it continuously. You produce investigation data, or you can improve your application continuously. So I didn't have any IT background when we created Gatling Corp. So everything I just explained to you was a bit foggy at that time. But I knew things were changing in the IT world. Internet users were multiplied by 10 over the next decade. And something you don't see as a user is that we are developing applications way more faster than before, and they are also more complex. So which make performance issues harder to spot and harder to solve. So All of this made of success. We build a worldwide community in 100,000 companies from all sizes and from all industries. What we offer them is a freemium business model with Gatling Enterprise. We created an interface to industrialize your load test, so with complex analytics, collaboration features, and automation features. And we managed to reach 1 million euros in annual recurring revenue. And we did it by converting only a small part of our community. So we are releasing next month a SaaS version of our enterprise solution with a simple goal, reducing time to first test with a plug and play approach, and limiting our users' investment in time and money. So that way we can reach 1 million euros in monthly recurring revenues and target 10% of our community. So what's next for Gatling? There is much more to come. There's a lot of things to do to continue to make load testing more impactful and also to make development teams' life easier. I would say many startups claim to change the world. This is not our case. This is not more our customers' job. And what we do is provide them the tools to do it right. Thank you very much.
Thank you. That was great. I'm sure all of us would be happy to get rid of our loading time. I would like to welcome Anas to ask a question.
Yes. Thank you, Paul-Henri, for your pitch. Actually, my question, I would like to know what will be your your sales strategy, like in the next few years. For example, imagining that you get the 1 million from San Francisco as an investment. What would be your sales strategy, and how would you approach? We'll say the I don't know how big is your. I guess your market is big enough, and how will you attract other millions of downloads and get more active users on your platform?
So our main strength today, and we need money to develop it, is we get inbound contacts from our community. So we didn't need a large sales force to develop ourselves, but still we need to get to our community, get in contact with them and sell them our enterprise solution. So we have this huge opportunity to develop ourselves. And what we do also in terms of research and development, and this is why we need also the money, is if we create advanced feature in terms of collaboration, because our customers today, they have hundreds of development teams across the world, and we need to develop features for them. And this is where actually our main market is. And one last thing is, from the very beginning of Gatling, our main market was also in the US. It's still today in the US, so we need also to expand our team over there.
Très clair. Merci, Paul-Henri.
Thank you. Jeremy, do you have a question as well?
Yeah, I have a question. Thank you, Paul-Henri, for the presentation. I have a question regarding the business model and the pricing. Could you elaborate a little bit more about how you price customers, and does your revenue grow along with your customers, which makes it, which would make it particularly attractive for people like us?
Yeah, so you have two axes in our pricing model. Our customers pay more when they have many developers, many testers using our solution in their organization. And also, if you're doing tests, if you're doing a lot of tests, everything is industrialized, you're also paying more. So these are our two axes: adoption and industrialization.
All right, thank you.
Great. Camille, you want to ask a question as well?
Yes, there are different kind of companies doing load testing, and I was asking myself how you differentiate yourself from other companies doing load testing.
So we were a pioneer in that area, and we still are with this code-like approach. And something we focused a lot over the past few years is organization features. And this is why, if you take a look at our customers today, it's mainly large organizations, because we managed to provide them with the feature they need to have hundreds of developers, hundreds of testers using a solution at the same time, and have a real performance strategy at the scale of the organization.
Thank you. Great, thank you. Next, I would like to invite Victor, CFO of Shiptify.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Valerie.
I think you.
Hey, everybody. Okay, so let's talk about B2B supply chain. Let's talk about Shiptify. So the B2B transport market has digitized more slowly than other sectors. In other words, there is a gap between the experience that you live at home and the one that logisticians live on a daily basis. We have to change that by accelerating the digitalization and the ecological transition. The main problem that is not yet relevant to continue without visibility, production shutdown, and low added value operations. Both shippers and carriers have to stop approximative processes. They must centralize and manage orders in open solutions. Between 2016 and 2018, we co-developed an open transport management system with our first clients. Our platform standardized and centralized in a single place all information and processes for all shipping mode, so by plane, boat, truck, etc. And with API, we reduce manual entries and secure end-to-end flows. So Shiptify is another way to communicate for suppliers, industries, freight forwarders, carriers, all actors. As you can see on these figures, French and European markets are huge. So it's an extraordinary playground and a very exciting stake for us. We offer a digitalized solution to small and medium enterprise and not only to large accounts. During the last 3 years, we've onboarded more than 4,000 teams, from small importers with a few dozen transport orders per month to huge industrial company like Safran or Yoplait. Shiptify is every day in 30 countries. And the COVID crisis was a fabulous to demonstrate that is cannot be with standalone solutions. And we are sure that the ecological transition will be another accelerator for the Shiptify's transport management system. Regarding our business model, first, so we are SaaS solutions with recurring revenue. These revenues are paid by shipper. It means that our solution is free for carriers when they are invited by their own clients. Secondly, invoicing is based on the number of transport orders managed in our TMS, so it's win-win. More you use, you will win money and time, and more we will win. And last but not least, contrary to main actors like SAP or Oracle, we don't charge any setup fees, so it's very quick and simple to start with Shiptify. Regarding the team, we are 24 partners, 2 logistic experts, 1 tech guy, and myself on the support side. Thank you for your attention. If you have any question.
Thank you so much, Victor. That was excellent. Leah, do you want to ask a question?
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you for the presentation. And I'd love to understand the experience of your customers. What solutions are they currently using? And what would be their competitive choice if they didn't go with you, but they wanted to upgrade?
Good question. A lot of companies are managed by Excel and phone, and that's our main competitor. And so they will have a first step to open different accounts. That's the first step. The second one is to invite suppliers or carriers to send information on the platform, and they will allow our clients to win money, to obtain prices, quotations, and to manage then the transport order, estimated delivery times, and what were dock of a warehouse dock, for example, to manage when does the truck driver will arrive, to be sure that the warehouse dock will have a free slot, and to optimize all these flows. Did I answer correctly your question?
Yes, thank you. In the San Francisco area, we had a company called Clear Metal that did logistics, visualization and tracking, particularly with shipping and things. And so I'm just curious that you don't see other competitors, if people want to move off the Excel spreadsheets and move into a more platform solution, that there wouldn't be any other competitors for your target customers.
Yes, that's true. We have a few technological competitors, which are, on our perspective, more focused on the geolocalization, estimated time arrival, and so on. And on our perspective, it's better, and maybe, if I may, more logical to start by have a view on all different flows, and not only focus on the geolocalization. It would be like if you use an Excel sheet and move directly to geolocalization. I think that companies, small and medium ones, will have to have a step before that, and to manage all this transport order step by step. But by the end, yeah, I think that almost all companies will have geolocalization solution.
Thank you.
Thank you. Uriah, I see you have a question as well.
Yes, I do. Thank you. Victor, bonsoir. Following on with Leah, I was thinking about a couple of big names, Flexport and Forto. We're talking about, in the case of Flexport, is about founding amount 1.3 billion for those who do not know this market. Okay. The other one is Forto, who's a smaller one. He just was founded just with about 340 million or something like that. Are you looking for that? Or are you looking for something different? So I'm not going to talk about details, right? But is your vision to be a competitor, eventually to be acquired? Because I understand the business and I understand the size and everything, but Flexport and Forto are there. Back to the question, somehow, I would say, of Leah. I also have a question, why a French company should go with you, that you are the newcomer, and not going with a big name? So I'm sure they have excellent commercial relationship with both demand and supply sides of your business.
Yeah, I understand that it's a very strategic question.
It's my job.
So it's done.
Yeah, thank you.
First point, I think that there is enough place in a French and European market for European enterprises, and I think that some industrial companies should prefer a French or European enterprise to give their own data, which are very sensible. That's the first point. But it's not enough to say, okay, we will not be eaten by a big one, for sure. And the second point is it's the speed digitalization of the market, of this market. And actually, we just raised once, $500,000, secret. And we don't want to leverage money and to pay for the digitalization market. We prefer to let other competitors burn in cash and stay ready and to be able to move as faster as possible when the momentum will be there. I think it will be in the next 2 years, and we will accelerate at this moment. But frankly, I'm how can I say that? I'm conscious that they will moving very fast, and that's why we want to continue to accelerate. with 3-digit year-on-year growth to not stay too small for these companies.
Great, thanks a lot, Victor.
Thank you. Thomas, do you have a question as well?
Yes, I have just a quick question. Currently, your business model is shipper-centric, and you're free for carriers. Do you plan to evolve your model to get revenue from both sides?
Yeah, good question too. Yeah, you're right. We are focused on shipper, but I did not mention it, but we sell to a white label solution to allow carriers to digitalize themselves, first point, and to offer our 2MS to their own clients. So there is two different options. If these clients have only one carriers, it will be free for them, and we will just centralize data. And if they want to manage all their carriers, we will have both fees and data, and it will be extra win solution. But yeah, we started focusing on shipper, and then we move slowly to on the carrier side.
Okay, thanks.
Great, thank you, Victor.
Thank
Next, we have Hélène, CEO from Sibyltech.
So, can you hear me well? Yeah, I guess so. Great. So, good evening. I'm here to present to you with Sibyltech, a company developing digital health technology for transplantation. So Sibyltech was created based on the work of a research team called the Paris Transplant Group, PTG, who has two unique sets values, really. One, they own the world's most complete transplant database with over 100 clinical data from more than 20,000 patients followed for more than 15 years. Then they are internationally recognized for the double skill set they have. They are both doctors and statisticians and have developed lots of algorithm in the transplantation field. And Sibyltech has secured an exclusive license for the distribution of their algorithm. So the first clinical indication we are looking at is kidney transplantation, which cover over 60% of all organ transplantations. Transplantation is the treatment of choice when you suffer from chronic kidney disease, which affects 700 million people over the world. But once you're transplanted, it's not over. Your body constantly rejects your graft, and you have to take immunosuppressive drugs to protect your allograft. After 5 years, 1 out of 5 patients has lost their graft. After 10 years, 1 out of 2 patients. And they are going back to dialysis, which is extremely expensive and has a huge impact on the quality of life. So we need to be able to monitor the status of the graft more accurately to prevent people from going back into dialysis. To tackle this issue, we are commercializing the iBox. The iBox is a unique algorithm. It's unique because it's the only one able to predict individual long-term survival of the graft. It's the strongest algorithm in terms of robustness, with a CSAT of over 80% that has been validated on more than 20,000 patients over the world. It's the only algorithm having received the CE marking under the new regulation as a Class 2A medical device in France. And it's also unique because it's endorsed by the American and European Society, and they have pushed for the FDA to qualify the iBox as a surrogate endpoint to be used as a digital biomarker in clinical trials. We have 2 business models for the iBox. The first one is selling the iBox as a surrogate endpoint for pharmaceutical companies. That makes them save up to 7 years in clinical development. For that purpose, we are selling the iBox up to 3,000 euro per evaluation. And we have early tractions with Novartis with a contract of more than 3 million and contracts in discussion with Sanofi and AstraZeneca. This is a 20 million market, annual market. The second business model is selling the iBox as a medical device. And this is our main market. We want to prove that by using the iBox to monitor your patient, you will be able to prolong the allograft survival. For that reason, we will ask for reimbursement as a medical device up to 2,000 euros per patient and per year. We have already deployed the solution in Germany, in France, and in the US and in the UK. And we have benefited from early reimbursements in France. This is a 1 billion annual market. To deploy our solutions and make a difference in the transplantation field, we have a team of over 30 employees managed by a multi-skilled board. Alexandre Loupy and Xavier Jouven are the two key opinion leaders in their respective fields, both of them having received several awards. Alexandre Loupy is the first non-American having received the American Association of Transplantation Award. Stefan and myself have been in the entrepreneurship for over 10 years. He is the digital head. I'm the medical device expertise in the team. And Adrien and Julien bring to board their knowledge in the pharmaceutical world and financial institutions. Thanks for your attention.
Thank you. Amazing. Revolutionizing the success of transplantations. Richard, you want to ask a question?
Yes, thank you very much for your presentation. Very interesting. You mentioned that you're not the owner of the technology. I was wondering how easy it would be for your competitors to offer the same services based on another similar technology, knowing that algorithm cannot be easily protected.
Yeah, I think the main barrier to entry is the database that has been collected over 15 years by the Paris Transplant Group for different research projects. It's not easy to replicate, and it's actually almost impossible, especially as now data transfer agreements between hospitals are more difficult to put in place than it was 15 years ago. So that's the main barrier to entry. And then the CE marking that we've received is obviously another barrier to entry, as now the other solutions will have to prove either non-inferiority or superiority to compare to us.
Okay, thank you very much.
Great, thanks. Alexandre, you want to ask a question?
Yes, first of all, congratulations. It's a very impressive project, and congratulations for that. I've seen quite a lot of health projects in France, and I've noticed the same issue with all of them. So I'm asking the question, your business model seems to be very dependent of social care and health reimbursement. And I know that the main issue with almost every health startup in France is without Sécurité Sociale, no business model. So given the massive savings your deck is showing in the total care of transplant, because you can save a massive amount of money by using your technology, what do you have as alternative business model compared to only reimbursement? Because I do remember a graph on your deck showing the massive growth once you're gonna get reimbursement in the United States. So
yes.
Are you not too much dependent on health policies? And you know that in France, they can change every day or so.
Yes, so we depend on the care business model. We do depend on reimbursement from, in the US, it's Medicare, and in France, it's obviously CNAM. First, in France, we have received earlier reimbursements already from the CPAM, so we have secured that. We have the other business model, which is, as I've mentioned, using the iBox in clinical trials. That's a field where we have a monopoly. There are no other digital biomarker in transplantation that can be used by pharmaceutical company to save 5 years. So instead of waiting 5 years for the clinical trials to be over, after 1 year, they look at the predicted survival, and the FDA accepts this. So that's a first part of the answer. The additional part is, again, linked to pharmaceutical companies. Currently, we have 500 patients using our app with retention rates that we have rarely seen in the healthcare field. So our patients, after 2 months, still come back to the app at 40%. The data behind that for pharmaceutical company is extremely rich. So we have been approached quite a lot by them to valorize, put money under with this data, really. But the reimbursement is going to happen. I strongly believe in that, because this is where we are heading with the digital health solutions.
Okay. No, I'm sure. It's just that sometimes you don't want to be only dependent about state policies. We've seen some startups which have failed because of that.
Yeah, I agree. And that's why the pharmaceutical world help us to keep, I mean, we haven't raised funds so far in 2 years, and we are 30 people, and that's due to the pharmaceutical contracts.
Congratulations.
Great. Thomas, you have a question?
Yes, good question too. Clearly, your solution provides strong value. I discovered you at Vivatech this year. So my question is simple, and can we expect to see your iBox algorithm evolve to be used on other organs? Because I understand that you're focused on kidney fields currently, but do you think you can use your algorithm on other organs? Or?
Yes, so the Paris Transplant Group is multi-organ. We have already projects in lung and in the heart. And we are not only looking at other organs, but also pre-transplantation and all that happened before the transplantation to actually make better cross-match and improve the allocation between the donor and the recipients. We've also, because we are from the Parisian ecosystem, we have also started work around the chronic bowel disease field, which is a completely different field. But yes, the statistic, the aim is really the data. So as long as the database is here, we have the platform to deploy the algorithm.
Thanks.
Great. Camille, you have a question as well?
Yeah, just one question. You have an impressive team already and already clients, and why do you want to raise money, on how much, and what is your fundraising strategy?
So we are raising 10 million euro today. The reason why we raise is to be able to accelerate on the international deployment. In healthcare, a key challenge is interoperability and being able to lock hospital with doing the IT work. And there has been a huge acceleration in the investment in the digitalization of hospitals. We feel it's the moment to go now. And obviously IT teams in hospitals have huge waiting lists, so we need to be there quickly in Europe. So we initially thought we will focus on Germany and France and extend in a second time, but we are now willing to extend directly or more quickly in Europe. And key opinion leader from Spain, Italy, UK, Austria, and Israel have asked to be part of a clinical trial. So we feel this is the moment to accelerate for the international deployments. That's the main reason for the fundraising.
Okay, great.
Okay, we have one last minute, Uya. You can ask your last question.
I just wanted to understand if I got correct, you were talking about the Crohn's disease, right?
Not the Crohn's disease, no.
That's what I wanted to ask.
I mean,
we have that again.
Yeah, we have a project on chronic bowel disease, which
chronic bowel. Thank you.
Includes the Crohn's disease, but the project is about bowel. Sorry for my
perfect. No. Well, I was thinking about the numbers. I was thinking about the patients. Yeah, that's why I was asking.
Crohn is a bit tiny, but chronic bowel disease is a much bigger market. Yeah.
That's why I was asking. Perfect. Thank you. Thank you. That's it.
Thank you. Great. Thank you so much, Hélène. And finally, I would like to invite the last startup to pitch, Benjamin, CEO of OLEDCOM.
Hello, I am Benjamin, the CEO of OLEDCOM. I was formerly the CEO of Philips Home Lighting for Europe and North America, so I'm a specialist of intelligent lighting, and I realized a few years ago that lighting would become intelligent. Sorry, I cannot move my my screen. I don't know what is happening. I'm really sorry about that. Okay. I cannot move my slide.
Do you happen to have a PDF version? Oh.
Yes, I have okay, now I see. Sorry, I have a PDF version. Okay, so I discovered the company 3 years ago that is called OLEDCOM, Optical LED Communication. It is a spin-off from University Paris-Saclay and had the whole competencies and especially impressive laboratory, including space qualification to achieve the vision of intelligent lighting. OLEDCOM is 12 years of R&D, 14 million euro investment, 3 CES Innovation Awards, an impressive patent portfolio, one of the best in the world today, and was ranked as 13 out of 100 top French innovative company at the French Tech. We were the first one to implement that into a plane of Air France in November 19, and we have been selected last year by the CNES, the French NASA, in order to make a prototype to replace cable inside the future European space launcher of Ariane Group. Well, that comes out very structured with an ISO certification that happened this year. The market of Wi-Fi is quite big and very large across multiple segments. But if there are a lot of companies and a lot of laboratories able to master the technology, there is only 3 companies in the world amongst OLEDCom that have realized the productization of the technology. And of course, to start with, we have decided to focus on one segment, which is the space segment and the aerospace segment. What can we bring in, what the Wi-Fi can bring in a satellite is just replacing cables. Just look at the picture of Thomas Pesquet, you will understand our business. We can save 5 to 50 kilograms in a satellite, $60 to $600,000 in a big satellite. And just with that, we have raised a lot of interest among satellite manufacturers. We have even made a first prototype that is now being specialized, because Satellite, patented, that has an impressive latency of 500 nanoseconds. We have also announced in the Mobile World Congress in Barcelona, I am in now, a chipset, and we are now one of the only 2 companies in the world to have miniaturized the technology that is also going to replace fiber optics inside satellites for payload. This is the team. We are 20 people, mainly engineers in optics, PhD in electronics, embedded software, and also software. And our key milestone next year is to launch 3 space flights with OneWeb. We have signed a contract with them to launch a technosat, they call it, with LOF Orbital and also with the University Paris-Saclay in a nanosite, and expected orders in 2023. We expect from the space segment 55 million euro turnover at very profitable, as you can imagine from those segments. Our dream is to go to 100 gigabits per second in 2025 after having made the miniaturization. I just want to tell you, to finish a story. Last week, I had Samsung Electronics on the phone. They called me to ask me whether we can ship to them and how much it would take to ship 100 million of those chipsets for the TV business, because they want to replace cables, which is a nightmare for the people there. In summary, we think cable are dead, and long life to Wi-Fi and to OLEDCom. Thank you very much.
Super, thank you. Very impressive. Alexandre, do you have a question?
So I was saying, it's a very impressive technology. Congratulations on the presentation. However, I have a little frustration in this 2-minute speech. How would you describe the downsides of your technology? A lot of people have spoken about Li-Fi as a new way of Wi-Fi. The way you explain it seems to be much closer to a new generation of fiber optics. What are the downside of your technology? Is it expensive? Is when you block the light, you don't have any data? What happened?
This is exactly the point. The limitation of the technology is line of sight. You need to see the emitter, need to see the receiver. Otherwise, it doesn't work. That's why we should. The success is really to focus on the right applications. We are not here to replace Wi-Fi at all. We replace cable everywhere. The radio frequency cannot work. Inside the satellite, for instance, the electromagnetic waves are going to interfere with the equipment. So it's impossible to put there Wi-Fi. And here we have a big advantage when we place cable inside. Okay, so this is the downside.
Line of sight is really the biggest
line of sight, exactly. This is the limitation. So I think the mistake was made by some companies to focus on the wrong usage. for Li-Fi in the past. We have found as OLEDCom the right first application.
Mean then, because I didn't also get, I've seen the size of the market you project, however, you are providing a piece of technology into a very wide consuming technology market. You speak about spaceship, of aeronautics. You do not mention the kind of projected income you're expecting from that. Are you already generating income? Because 14 years of, no, 14 million of R&D, I guess, are hard to finance. Are you earning any money?
We are not earning money. We are doing today 500,000 turnover. We will do 1 million this year. And we will be no profit, no loss next year with the orders we have in the pipeline, just to be very clear about that. We have raised 2 million last year. We are completing a round of 4 million this year. And next year, we probably will do a B series or an IPO, depends on because we think that the space flights will represent an inflection point in the valuation of the company. Just to tell you, the order of, we have signed a contract with OneWeb, is very concrete. OneWeb is the second satellite manufacturers of constellation after SpaceX. We will go live in Flight Heritage next year, and if it is, let's say, successful, when it is successful, the valuation of the company will be multiplied for sure. This is our expectation.
Do you own all your patents, or do you have
yes,
like
100%? 100%.
Thank you very much. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you. I see we have a question also from Richard.
Yes, thank you very much. Very impressive technology. I was wondering, you didn't mention the market of home automation, and I was wondering, because of the concerns we have with Wi-Fi, even if it's ill-founded, maybe. I guess that satellite is a very big market, but what about home automation?
So it's a huge market, and when I mention, sorry, there is an echo on the line. When I mentioned Samsung Electronics, it's real, and they really called us. For them, cables for the TVs are a nightmare. They want to cancel completely cables, and we have the type of discussions that they want to have a communication, high-speed communication for the high-quality audio between the speakers and the TV. They cannot rely on the Wi-Fi of the home because the quality is not enough and the speed is not enough. And when talking about those opportunities, we talk about 100 millions of units of a few dollars. So we are now, and it's completely new because we just announced the chipset, entering into those type of conversations. I had also Oppo, which is interesting by implementing that into mobiles. We have Dell, which is starting conversation with us to install it into laptops. So of course, I have focused on leadership in space. We are the only one in the world to be able to provide a space solution for Li-Fi. But as soon as the space is made, the next vertical will be home automation and high volume electronics.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anna, you have a question as well?
Yes. Congratulations, Benjamin, for your great project and venture. Actually, my question was, I know that you are focusing on the airspace or the aerospace in industry. What about the telco operators? Did you have them as a, we'll say, a target in your roadmap, or is it still early to approach this this industry? Thank you.
So Orange is the partner of OLEDCom. They have validated all our product. For instance, our current product has been tested and validated by Orange. So we have a technology partnership with them. They consider today it is too early to put in the roadmap the Li-Fi. But you know, so to be very clear, but it will come. I'm convinced about it.
Okay, thank you, Benjamin.
Thank you so much. Bravo, everybody. What an amazing pitching round. Now that we've finished hearing the 5 most promising French startups, we would like to invite the judges to decide the winner. For this, we are sending you notifications to enter the deliberation room. So be with us for a second. second.
So all the judges will enter the deliberation room with me, and Jessica will stay with the startups. And Bill.
All judges away.
But me, you need to,
Great.
you need to send me too.
Oh, wait just a second, sorry. Done. Okay, in the meantime, I would like to introduce and invite our dear partner from Pegasus, Bill Reichert, to share with us his insights and his famous keynotes from startup to scale up, top 10 challenges for entrepreneurs.
So
Bill, the floor is yours.
Great. So thank you so much, Jessica, and thank you and Tech It Forward for organizing this. And congratulations to all the entrepreneurs that made it to this stage. So the team invited me to step in for this period while the judges are deliberating, to share with you some thoughts based on our experience over the years on what it takes to build and scale up a successful startup company. And so it's interesting sort of stepping in this gap. I'm sure all of you are going to be entirely focused on my presentation, right? You're not going to be thinking at all about what's going on with the judges and how that's all going. But and if we were all together, I'd be happy to do a song and dance. But unfortunately, we're not all together. So instead, you're going to get slides. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen, and hopefully we can make this work. And let's do that. Let's see if this is the right one. And it looks like it is. So with that, so the team asked me to do sort of this mini 20-minute workshop. We'll see how long it takes the judges. If the judges come back in 5 minutes, then we'll get through maybe 2 of the top 10 list. If it takes longer, then we'll have time for questions and answers. So we'll see how the timing goes, but we can be flexible. So the point of this discussion is all of you guys are now, sort of moving beyond the startup phase into the scale-up phase. And so that, of course, raises the question, what's the difference between a startup and a scale-up, and what are the challenges associated with making that transition? So a definition of the startup comes from a friend of ours named Steve Blank, is a startup is a temporary organization in search of a repeatable and scalable business model. So Steve Blank, who was a very successful entrepreneur who made the transition into being an educator, came up with this framing for what a startup is. And it's a very powerful framing, because the point that we have all learned here in the venture world is that a startup tech company is very different than a small business. So in the olden days, entrepreneurship was taught more as small business management than high-tech scale-up management. And so Steve came along and he said, look, this is different than a small business, because when you're a startup, your organization is simply temporary, because you don't know exactly how this is going to evolve. So it's a temporary organization, and your job as a startup is, not to build the team, it's not to manufacture product. Your job as a startup is to figure out a repeatable and scalable business model. So that's the whole big idea behind a lot of the entrepreneur education that has evolved over the last roughly 15 or 20 years. But what has happened is that we put so much emphasis on this entrepreneurship training around the definition of a startup that we've lost some of the community memory of the difference between starting up and scaling up. So what's the difference between a startup and a scale-up? Well, a scale-up is a dynamic organization. It's not a temporary organization, but it's not a fixed organization. So there's more structure when you scale up, but your mission has changed. So the presumption is now you've figured out a repeatable, scalable business model, and now your job is to generate disproportionate value via rapid growth. So that is the business that we're all in this venture ecosystem with high-tech startups and high-tech investors. So there's a difference between being a startup and being a scale-up, and a lot of that has been sort of lost over the years. So by way of background, I actually came to Silicon Valley many, many years ago now. I came to Silicon Valley to go to graduate school here at Stanford. And I wound up starting a software company while I was a graduate student at Stanford. This is before it was fashionable for Stanford graduate students to start software companies. So that's what got me into this whole venture ecosystem. And when I was sort of growing up in Silicon Valley, there was a very clear framework in the Valley around the stages of growth. That, there's an initial pre-revenue stage, there's a 0 to 1 stage, there's a 1 to 10 stage, and there's a 10 to 100 stage. And there was a lot of good shared common wisdom around the transitions across those stages. Well, fast forward now to this new world where companies are going from 0 to 100 in 12 or 24 months. There's this insane change in the speed of development of startup companies. And so we've lost some of that sort of common wisdom, that community knowledge that we had before. But if you're making the transition from startup to scale up, by the way, I get credit for this definition of scale up. If you're making the transition from startup to scale up, you've got to change. You've got to consciously change your mindset. You've got to change your skill set, and you have to change your organizational processes, the processes within inside your company. So that's the sort of discussion that I want to have with you now, hopefully in the last, 14 minutes that we might have. So I'm going to try to go through the top 10 challenges of making the transition from startup to scale up. So transition number 1 has to do with your organization. So traditionally, when you're a startup, it's ad hoc, it's all hands, it's multiple hats, it's a temporary organization. So you and your buddies you all fit in the same conference room around the same table, and everybody is responsible for helping everybody get stuff done. You're all wearing multiple hats. So that's it can be really fun. It's a really exciting time in an entrepreneur's life. But when you move to scale up, you've got to make this transition to repeatable processes, defined roles, and assigned accountability. And I will tell you, a lot of entrepreneurs, they either miss this transition or they resist making this change. Because as soon as you talk to an entrepreneur about implementing repeatable processes, they say, wait a second, that sounds like a corporation. And we're entrepreneurs. We don't do corporate crap, right? But in order to scale your business, you want to stop reinventing the wheel. You want to institutionalize these processes that you've developed that work, that are repeatable and scalable. You want to imprint them at some level, not in concrete, but at least get them down systematically. And you've got to start delegating out. You can't all sit around the same table and help everyone do everything. So you start defining roles and assigning accountability. Instead of we're all responsible for getting this done, you're responsible for this, and you're responsible for this, and you're responsible for this, and we're going to hold you accountable for getting things done. Now that's a transition not everybody likes, because it was more fun when we were all sort of doing it together. But it's essential that you make this transition and you start defining roles and assigning accountability. So that's the organization. So the second challenge has to do with your business model. So as we said, the point of a startup is to explore, to test, to validate your business model. You know, what works, what doesn't work. You are trying to get to this ideal of what is called product market fit. So once you get there as a scale up, things have to change and you need to start defining your path to profitability. And so what we as a venture community have let entrepreneurs get away with now as startups, when you're a startup, we're not going to hold you accountable for having, you know, your financial projections down and all of your business model worked out and all the details of your customer acquisition cost and your lifetime value. You know, when you're a startup, we know you're still kind of working on it. But once you make that transition into you're looking to raise money to scale your business, then you better have these metrics nailed. We want to know that you understand the economics of your business down at the financial detail level. How many customers do you have to acquire? How much is it going to cost you to acquire those customers? How long is it going to take? What's the average revenue per customer? What's the lifetime value of a customer? We want to see that you're implementing these KPIs or these critical metrics, these critical performance indicators in your day-to-day processes as a company. It's no longer good enough to say, well, we're kind of figuring it out. So you've got to pin down your financial model. You've got to show you know the economics, and you've got to be able to justify the amount of capital you're raising and then how far it's going to get you and when you're going to become profitable or at least cash flow break even. So that's the business model. The third challenge is the team. Team is critically important. When you're a startup, you know, it's a band of brothers and sisters. As I said, you're all around the same conference room table. You're all working together. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of energy. You may be working 24/7. You may be sleeping under your desk, but it's unbelievably energizing, right? Now you're making the transition to a scale up. You've got to scale up your team as well. So in order to do that, you've got to recruit a bunch of additional people. And this becomes a challenge for a lot of companies because you wind up creating these sort of two teams. There's the original founding team that we're all in the same room, and then there are the people who came later. And so it creates a sort of bad dynamic. What you need to do is create a consistent team that shows that you're not just bringing in your buddies, you're not just bringing in, you know, the people you knew at university or from your last job. You're being disciplined about building a team. And that discipline is more than just recruiting for resumes or using sort of a skill set to define a job. You've got to recruit across a broader spectrum of issues. What we see in the highest performing teams is not just, you know, target skill sets, but we see these other characteristics that good founders create when they recruit talent, not just skills. What's the difference between talent and skills? Well, talent can be shaped to be successful and capable across a variety of skills. Skills, you don't know. You don't know if that engineer who knows PHP can make the transition to Java or whatever, right? You need to recruit for character. You need to recruit for people who are, you know, have honesty, integrity, hard discipline work, etc. You need to recruit for culture around your organization to make sure they fit in the organization. Now, they can't all be, you know, the same mindset, the same, you know, people from your last job or from your university. You need to recruit diverse perspectives. You can't just recruit people who all think the way you do. You want a diversity of perspectives so you can get a richer problem-solving mentality in the organization. So this is a workshop into itself, is the idea of how do you build a high-performing team? But you've got to do it consciously. The best companies, when they go from startup to scale up, very, very deliberately think through what is our recruiting strategy and how do we make sure we don't just hire bodies because we need them, we build a high-performing team. The fourth challenge has to do with culture, and this relates to the team building. So when you're a startup, again, you're all in the same room, you're all around the same table, you have this shared passion and this shared suffering. The culture is there, it's present, it's always present, and it's immediate. Everybody knows what this culture is when we're a startup company. But again, when you scale up, you start recruiting people who are now, sort of not part of the founding group. They're different somehow. It's really important that you don't assume that your culture will naturally diffuse as you expand your team. So you've got to create explicitly shared values and norms and cultures in the organization. A lot of entrepreneurs assume that the original culture that they thought, defined this company, that would just sort of organically and naturally, spread as you recruit people, but it doesn't. You've got to make sure that you activate your culture and you model it on a regular and consistent basis. So first of all, it means defining it explicitly. If I were, I wish we were all together in the same room. What I'd love to do is go around the room and ask each of the entrepreneurs, so what's your culture? How would you define it? If we were to do that, I don't know how many people are in the room, but we would come up with as many different cultures as there are people in the room. That's inevitable. Different teams emphasize different things. There's no right answer, but you want your culture to evolve to support the work of the business and support the performance of the team. But in order to do that, you've got to make it explicit and you've got to activate it and model it on a regular daily basis. You can't just assume that it will permeate the organization as you recruit people. The fifth challenge around scaling up is the challenge of leadership. Leadership is a classic topic that, more books have been written on leadership than probably anything else in business management, right? And yet, can any of you define leadership? Again, I wish we were in the same room. I would ask each of you, how do you define leadership? Think about it. What makes for a good leader? Well, when you're a startup, you're all in the same room. You're all kind of leading. Generally, the founders lead, and they've brought in a few other people, and everybody kind of knows the pecking order. But the reality is, when you're a startup, as I said, everybody's working together, multiple hats to get things done. When you're scaling up, then you're pushing out the responsibility, you're delegating out to the edge. The challenge is, what is the definition of leadership as you scale up? So as you scale up, believe it or not, your challenge is to enable everyone to lead. This is a big difference between scaling up a fast-growing company and just managing a static organization. When you are scaling up, you've got to push responsibility out to the edge. That means you've got to recruit people who have the ability to take on that responsibility and to lead in their domain. If you keep, every once in a while, we see entrepreneurs who are control freaks. And as they scale up the organization, they still want to be in control. They want to micromanage everything that's going on in the organization. They want to be the deciders for all of the decisions. If you take that approach to leadership, your approach is, I'm the leader and you guys are all followers, so shut up and just do what I tell you to do. If you take that approach, you're not going to be able to scale. First of all, who's going to want to be in that organization? How much talent are you going to be able to attract if that's the culture, if that's the leadership style? And second of all, if all of the decisions have to come to the center to be made, if nobody can make decisions at the edge, then you're not going to be able to scale the company. You're not going to be able to grow rapidly. So you've got to create a culture where you recruit people with leadership skills and abilities. It doesn't mean that everyone leads everything, but everyone has to be a leader in their particular domain. Challenge number 6 is product development. So when you're starting up, right, we've all been taught now, the big idea is minimum viable product, MVP, get that MVP out the door, ship, then test, get it out. So that's the emphasis in entrepreneur education these days. That's fine, that's great, that's wonderful. We believe in this, but in order to scale up, you've got to make a change. In order to scale up, you've got to develop a stable, secure, scalable product and a continuous improvement process. So this is also a big crisis in a number of companies, because in a lot of startups, the CTO is your university buddy who's hacking together the code to get it out the door as an MVP. That person who hacked together the MVP probably isn't the right person to build and run an engineering team focused on creating a stable, secure, scalable product and a continuous improvement process. So it's a very different mindset and skill set between MVP and stable, secure, scalable product. So you're going to have a crisis possibly between, who's the right person for this next level. And you got to go to your university buddy and say, sorry, you're a great coder. You're a wonderful at hacking together a product, but we need an experienced VP of engineering to actually run the processes. So we'll keep you on the cutting edge of product development, but we're going to have to go hire somebody else for this role. That can be a crisis in the evolution of an organization, but it's critical that you make this transition. We have seen so many companies that are late making this transition, and they wind up with a bunch of crappy code and the inability to continuously improve that code. And finally, they get to a crisis point and they just have to throw everything away and start all over again. So, maybe you got to do that anyway, but make sure that you think deliberately about making this transition in product development. And then you got to make the same transition in sales and marketing. So when you're a startup, you're doing what is referred to as customer discovery, right? Which we also refer to as kissing a lot of frogs. And so the big idea is you don't know who your customers are yet. So you're still trying to figure it out. And everybody hopefully is out there talking to prospective customers, trying to understand their needs, trying to understand what they're going to want, trying to understand what they're going to buy and who will buy. So you're doing this customer discovery thing that we're teaching a lot of entrepreneurs when they're starting up. But when you scale up, it shifts. And now again, as with product, in marketing and sales, you've got to create this repeatable marketing and sales process. You want to create this engine for marketing and sales where you have an efficient mechanism for identifying and qualifying leads. You push them into the funnel, and you've got this scalable, efficient process for moving prospects through the funnel to close. And then you have customer success that upsells them over time. So it is a definable process, and you need people who are experienced to really understand how to build this sales and marketing engine. A lot of entrepreneurs think, oh yeah, sales, I can go hire some, just hire some sales guys and we'll go sell product, right? It's not that simple. The 8th challenge is in financial planning. So a lot of entrepreneurs, they're visionaries. They have a vision of making a dent in the universe. They've got a product or technology idea. They're engineers. A lot of entrepreneurs are not that comfortable on the finance side. So when you're a startup, that's okay. We are teaching entrepreneurs to start identifying their critical metrics and to, start framing out their financial models. So there's some good education out there for entrepreneurs on sort of the initial part of financial planning and financial management. But I'll tell you, if you want to move from startup to scale up and convince an investor to fund you, then you've got to take it up a level, and you've got to start tracking and hitting your numbers. We want to see that you've put together a dashboard, that you are very clear as to what your KPIs, your key performance indicators are, and that you're monitoring them on a daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, annual basis, and that you're demonstrating that you are a good business person, not just a visionary entrepreneur, but you can track and hit your numbers. You can deliver on time, on budget. Your sales forecasts are reliable. Your expenses are predictable, that we know that this is a repeatable, scalable engine. It's, you know, not just a vision for making a dent in the universe. And then the ninth challenge, you know, for any entrepreneur going out in the venture world is, of course, raising money and getting funding. The advantage you have as a startup is a huge advantage in selling the dream, right? So you've got no track record to speak of for this business. You may have background experience. You may be a serial entrepreneur. You may have really talented co-founders. You may have a great vision. And in essence, you're selling the dream, which is wonderful. But once you get to the scale, to the point where you have to scale up, where you need to raise money to expand and grow, then you've got to prove your ability to execute. And so this goes back to the disciplines I was talking about in product development, in sales and marketing, and financial management. You've got to actually show that you can live up to your promises. So as a startup, you had a lot of promises that you gave, you know, yourselves, your customers, and your investors. Now you got to show that you can deliver, execute on time, on budget. And then the 10th challenge is your global strategy. So as a startup, you know, you have this vision that we're going to be a global success story. But when you're a startup, the reality is you may be thinking globally, but you got to act local. You've got to focus on the customers nearby for the most part. A lot of you, you know, you're focused locally because that's your beachhead. That's where you can get a start. But you have a framework of thinking globally, and that's great. And investors love that because, you know, you can scale to become a big global success story. That's what we're looking for. Once you're a scale up, though, you got to shift that. When you're scaling up, then you have to act globally and then think locally in each market that you're going into. So it's not good enough to think global. Now you've actually got to bring on the talent expertise and the local expertise to create a global enterprise, to move cross-border, to develop sort of an international or global capability, and to implement in each of these different markets a somewhat appropriate, slightly different, we don't know, it depends on the business, how different it may be in each local market, but you've got to execute them on a local level across multiple geographies. That's a huge challenge for most startups, for most entrepreneurs. Sometimes you come from a background that gives you expertise in this, but for a lot of entrepreneurs, this is a huge transition that they have to make. So those are the top 10 challenges, but wait, there's more, a bonus challenge. The bonus challenge in the art of scaling up, something that I went through as an entrepreneur. I see a lot of entrepreneurs going through this challenge, that when you're an entrepreneur starting up your company, your challenge is to figure out how to change the world, right? You know, when you're starting with a clean sheet of paper or a clean whiteboard, whatever it is, and you're sort of putting together your vision, you're building your team, you're imagining the future, you're trying to figure out how are we going to change the world? And then you raise some money, you launch a product, you get some customers, you start, you know, implementing these processes. All of a sudden, the whole thing changes. And as an entrepreneur, scaling up a company, you have to actually change the world. And that's very different than figuring out how to change the world. And so as an entrepreneur, you've got to decide, what is it you're best at and what is it you're most excited about? You know, as an investor, I want an entrepreneur who not only is excited about and good at figuring out how to change the world, I want an entrepreneur who can actually change the world. I want an entrepreneur who's really good at execution, who is passionate about executing and making a dent. But not everybody is. Not everybody is. And we've discovered this. We have discovered that a lot of entrepreneurs are really good at the visionary part, but when it comes to the execution part, to the day-to-day, to the unbelievably brutal demands of making things work on a daily basis, that's not as exciting to some entrepreneurs. You got to know who you are. You got to know if you're the one who is going to continue to do the job of changing the world, or maybe you have a different role and maybe there's somebody else, maybe currently on the team or somebody you bring in who is really good on the execution part, on the operational part, on dealing with these crises from day to day of actual execution. So that may also be a change in your mindset. So those are the top 10 scale-up challenges. You got to change the organization, implement systems and processes. You've got to make sure you transition from discovering your business model to actually proving your business model. You want to build a high-performing team, not just a band of brothers and sisters. You've got to diffuse the culture. You've got to make sure the culture makes the transition across the company as you scale up. You want to create a culture of leadership where everyone has responsibility for leadership. You want to make the product 10 times better, not just minimum viable product. It's got to be stable and secure. You want to develop repeatable processes in sales and marketing. You've got to put together a financial management and planning process that rigorously instruments and monitors your key metrics. You want to prove your ability to execute in order to raise your next round of funding. You got to think globally, act globally, and implement locally. And finally, you want to think about what is your purpose and actually go out and change the world. So those are the top 10 scale-up challenges. Another brief advertising portion of the program. I get a lot of entrepreneurs who are not coming from a finance background, don't know exactly what I mean by making the transition from being a visionary to being a business person. And so the Kauffman Foundation, which is the largest entrepreneurship foundation here in the United States, asked me to do a video course, which I call The Art of Startup Finance. And if you can, it's about an hour and 15 minutes across 10 modules. If you understand everything I say, then probably you have a good enough understanding of finance and KPIs, dashboards, and critical performance indicators. So if you don't understand some of what I say, then maybe you need to do some homework. But if you just Google The Art of Startup Finance, it should pop up. So with that, Jessica, are the judges done, or do we have time for discussion, for questions? What's the...
The judges are back.
Oh, they are. Oh,
thank
I'm
you so
sorry.
much, Bill. That was fantastic.
Okay.
No, it was really inspiring. I hope everybody enjoyed. And I'm sure that all the startups are very nervous right now and want to and want to know who are the champions and the winners.
Oh, come on. Really? Okay. Well, thank you all for your patience. And I can hardly wait to hear myself. So take it away, Jessica.
All of us. So I would like to invite actually Noah and Leah to congratulate the winner and announce the 3 winners.
Great. So I really, strong competition here today. And I think that, there have been some tough deliberation across the judging panel here today. I believe Jessica and Jennifer did it. Do we have the winners listed out?
Did you make a slide, or do you want us to call them out?
Yeah, we can call them out.
You can just call them out.
Yeah, go ahead, Leah.
Oh, well, so I believe we only chose the top winner. So
right.
You just did 3.
Just one.
Oh, okay. Oh, well, so it was very difficult. We were all extremely impressed with all of you. It really was a very difficult decision because it's a really impressive batch of semifinalists here. But in the end, we settled on Civitech. So congratulations.
Thanks a lot.
Congratulations. I think everybody can unmute now.
Congratulations to everyone and
Congrats.
Civitech.
Congrats.
Thank you.
So we
very
look forward to seeing you in San Francisco, and we actually would love to see all of the teams in San Francisco and the judges too.
I confirm that everybody had really great scoring, and I invite the startups to reach out if they want to know more details about the feedbacks of the judges, if it's interesting for you.
Great. So yeah, we pulled up here your digital boarding pass to Silicon Valley, as kind of the honorary award for the event. And we look forward to see you guys in Silicon Valley. And we hope that, you represent France well and fight the fight and bring home that grand finale trophy.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Yes, we will. We'll try.
Congratulations. Congratulations to everybody, actually. You were all really excellent and inspiring projects, and wish you all just growing success.
And I'd also like to thank and congratulate Jessica and Jennifer for organizing this. You guys do a spectacular job. We really appreciate it. And so I'm hoping all of you entrepreneurs experience just a wonderful experience, and all of you judges working with Tech It Forward, Jennifer and Jessica. But so thank you very much. Really appreciate all of your hard work.
Thank everyone here.
Okay.
Do better than us against the Swiss yesterday.
So we were hoping that topic. We were hoping that topic would not come up.
I couldn't help myself. So Civitech, defend our colors in the United States.
So sorry. Quel dommage,
Good evening to everyone.
Don't talk about that.
All right. So love being in France. Really hoping that next time we're all together in person, and it will be even more fun than it was today. So
and we will be happy to welcome you.
Thank you so much. So is that it? Okay. So we hope we see you in San Francisco. Please.
Yes. Everybody here, we invite you.
America is open. Okay.
Yeah. Especially San Francisco.
Right. Okay.
Bye-bye.
Okay.
Bye. Thank you.
Right.
Bye. Bye, guys.
Thank
Have
you.
a nice day or evening. Bye.
Good evening. Bye.
Okay. Yes. Right. Have a great evening.